So how about you? We start with you just saying, who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Oh, right. I'm Sacha, and most people know me as Sacha C. That's pretty much like my handle on Instagram and everything else, and my blog is sachac.com. So most people right now know me as a blogger. I interview a lot of different emerging entrepreneurs, creative professionals, and I do a lot of my own writing as well. I'm also a contributing writer for Caribbean 360, for Dazzle magazine, recently for M People magazine as well. I lived in Barbados for the past 7 years. I'll rewind and say I was born in Barbados, grew up in Florida, moved back, lived there for 7 years, and a couple months ago I actually made a move to New York City. I kind of decided that I wanted a bigger platform, I wanted to push myself some more, and I am a U.S. citizen and I didn't want to lose that. So, plus, and in addition to all that, I really wanted to live in New York. So that said, everything I mentioned is kind of what I call my dream chaser work. It's what I do on the side. It doesn't by any means pay the bills or keep a roof over my head, so I do work full time. When I was in Barbados, I used to manage a company called Wine World, which was 5 retail wine and liquor stores. And now I'm the retail director and vice president for the wine department in Sotheby's. Sotheby's is an auction house traditionally, but they do have a retail store. So I manage all of their retail business, and again, I have a team that works with me. So I work about 60 hours, 50 to 60 hours a week. I put in quite a bit of time at work, and then in addition to that, I blog, I interview, so I'm pretty nonstop.
Okay, so the move from Barbados back to America was because you wanted to grow, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So how did you go from wanting to grow yourself to wanting to help others grow? Because I saw on your website you're a life coach.
Yes. So I'm a life coach primarily, a writer, and a speaker. And all the same message, all trying to work with the same people. So I work with emerging entrepreneurs, people that feel a little bit stuck, to help them activate their potential and monetize their talent. Because it's all well and good to have a lot of talent, but if you don't know how to brand yourself, how to let go of the things that are holding you back, then you kind of get stuck into this, I can't go anywhere, and it goes from there. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. So to answer your question about how I wanted to start helping others is I myself was a bit of a box checker, is what I like to call it. Like I went to college to check that box. I got a job after college and I moved back to Barbados to check that box. I got married and checked that box. Got the house, everything, and I checked all those boxes, and I was completely miserable. I was really living my life for everybody else.
You
Not
mean
to
you
say
were
that everyone
miserable
around
with
me.
that?
Sorry, go
You
ahead.
mean you were miserable with that aspect of your life, but the marriage was quite fine?
No, I had problems all around. I mean, I think
Okay.
from the outside everything looks great, but I think on the inside it kind of felt a little dead inside.
Okay.
In that, it's funny when you actually when you come back to what you truly want to do in life, you'll realize that there was road signs all along, and a lot of times we don't listen to those road signs. We listen to everybody else who may have good intentions for us, but may not truly know what makes us tick. And I think that's very important. I think it's what happens a lot in Barbados too, the pressure to do what society says is best takes us away from our true internal path. So I would say in a nutshell, I pretty much found myself in this position where I was now separated from my then husband. I was stuck with a lot of bills and a house to pay for, and a lot of difficulty and struggle. And so I started to look inside for the first time ever. I used to always look outside for help and assistance, and I think I started to look inside and I started to read all this self-help material, which up until that point I was like, oh, that's a waste of time, self-help. And it changed me completely. It brought me back to who I was as a person, and it changed the way I approached my finances, the way I approached my relationships, and the way I approached my life in general. And to add on to that, I remember I will never forget that moment when I realized this is what I want to do. I was actually in an interview. I was interviewing someone, and they'd come in to interview for a position with our company, and it wasn't a good fit. But I asked him, I'm like, well, what do you want to do in life? Like, what really makes you tick? If you could do anything, what would it be? And he clearly outlined for me this concept that he had of starting a restaurant, and we had a long discussion about how he would be able to do it, where he would get the money to do it, who he would connect with to assist him on that journey. And we kind of left there and it was like, okay, well, so you understand why you wouldn't be getting a job here. But he was so motivated to go out back into the world and do it. And I was motivated too, and I was like, that's that rush, that feeling like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I not only do I want to help myself, and I have to work on myself as a person, but I wanted to help others realize that they don't have to take the traditional path, or they don't have to feel stuck. That was a very long-winded answer.
No. I mean, it was lengthy, but it wasn't full of air. It was actually quite full of a lot of stuff. Like as you're speaking, I'm internalizing, and I'm saying,
yeah.
I can see it from your face that you're really, really, really passionate about this, and that's quite rare. You know, people. I find like this is some schools of thought say that this. Well, I'm an academic, so sometimes they start to sound really academic-ish or whatever. But some schools of thought say that this is a confluence age when people are starting to bloom and doing things that they really want to do and not things that people are telling them to do. And it's always interesting to meet people who are doing what they want to do, no matter what. And I mean, you seem to be doing it in a very responsible way. There are some people who just throw themselves in it and, you know, they're barely making ends meet and what's not. And that's okay, but you seem like you're balancing your life in a more, I guess, because you're married now, still? Or
I'm
no?
actually about to get married in the second marriage.
Okay, cool.
I'm but very, very happy and thankful for this individual, and we've had our own struggles again in terms of people wanting a certain type of partner for you, and he's been the best partner for me and the best support system for me. But again, it's funny how society interprets things. But yes, I'm on the brink and the cusp of that, and I am so thankful and so happy.
So how did you help yourself along to this stage? How did you coach yourself to the stage you are at now where you're doing what you want to do?
I became a sponge. So it's so funny. I had this conversation with a friend recently, and he asked me, he's like, who in Barbados do you admire and do you look up to? And like, how do you surround yourself with people that motivate you? Because one of the things that I'm sure you've heard is that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And this tagline, if you will, used to daunt me because I would say, like, I'm looking around, I mean, I have friends, but nobody's really like pushing me and inspiring me to go to the next level. And so I started to listen to podcasts. I listened to Lewis Howes, Dave Ramsey for financial help, Johnny Dumas, and I listened to tons of Les Brown. I love Les Brown. And Zig Ziglar, I found some of his old podcasts, and every night when I'd be making dinner or on the way to work, whenever I could listen, I would listen. And I would listen to a lot of their own personal stories. They would do a lot of interviews with other entrepreneurs, so I would listen to each entrepreneur story. And I just became a sponge. So I did a lot of podcasts, a lot of audiobooks, a lot of reading. And that's pretty much, how I did that. I did do a life coach certification program as well. So I am actually certified. You technically don't need to have a license to be a life coach, but I did do a full certification program to become a life coach.
So, okay, tell me at least one way, but if you have 3, that would be good. 3 ways in which your life has completely changed since you started your path.
3 ways. That's a good question. 3 ways it's changed. Well, 1, I changed where I am physically. I had always had this dream about living in New York, and I kind of got the kick in the butt, and I was like, let's do it. Let's actually move. That was a big decision. And 2, I've changed a lot of my habits and my routines. So a big part of everyone's success is what they do over and over and over. You are the result of what you do every day. So I've tried to instill certain habits, like every morning or every evening I write in a gratitude journal. I do those sort of things to change my habits. And then I'm trying to think, number 3, and it's something I would say I'm still working on, is I've changed the way I speak to myself. Because negative self-talk and the conversations that we have that we're not good enough, we're not pretty enough, we're, I don't know, not fit enough, we're not smart enough, those conversations, I've tried to become very much of a witness to them in myself, where it's like, I can't do this, or I'm not good at that, and trying to reverse those conversations. I think that's something that is an ongoing thing to change, but it's something I've definitely changed.
In your experience, because number 3 is quite interesting. In your experience, would you say that, and I mean your experience as a life coach, would you say that one sex is more self-deprecating than the other, or is it a fair share?
That's a good question, but I actually would say it's a fair share. I think women are more willing to speak about it. Like if I coach males as opposed to females, as females we tend to share. We talk more than males. As you know, males tend to really they'll talk about surface level things, sports, cricket, what's going on, parties, but they never really go deep in their conversations with their friends. So if you have someone that, like a male, I think that they almost feel like that's a sense of masculinity, that they need to have those things covered deep down. And so I would say that males definitely have it, but it takes a lot more to get it out of them. A lot more digging, a lot more making them feel comfortable and not vulnerable.
So I'm guessing then that when it comes to the sex, that you change your approach generally, or do you tailor your approach to the person, or do you tailor your approach to the sex and then the person?
The sex has nothing to do with it. Okay. For me, really, it's to the person completely. And I say that not only in life coaching. A big part of the reason I love the work that I did, especially with when I worked at Wine World in Barbados and what I'm doing now, is I've always led a team. And even when it comes to team leadership, I always say the way that I speak to you is going to be different than the way that I speak to someone else, simply because you have different styles of learning, you have different styles of communication. So it's not that I'm being fake, it's that I'm flexing my style and being flexible to the person to get the best out of that conversation. So when it comes to my clients, usually what I will do is they will complete an assessment, like a personality style assessment, and it gives me a good gauge of what type of a learner they are, where some of their discrepancies are coming from in their personality, because who we are to the world and who we are as a person, sometimes they don't align. Sometimes we like to, the guy that likes to be all macho and big out in public, but really and truly he's not that in private. So I like to go through that very early in the coaching conversation, and I like to go through that with my clients for the purpose that they can understand and have a greater sense of self-awareness. And let me just add that self-awareness is huge. I've interviewed so many people that I will ask them something pointed and simple as, what is your greatest weakness? By the way, most obvious interview question. And I get that stunned look of, I don't know, I've never thought about that. You should know where you struggle, you should know where you're strong, so that you can flex your strength and work on your weaknesses. So that's something that I go through with them.
Quite. As I'm listening to you, I'm finding all of this interesting. I'm finding it quite amusing that, a few years ago, there was this thing with life coaches coming out more and everything. And people were like, who needs a life coach? Because I know to run my life. But when you really start to think about it, many people don't really run their lives. Their lives run them. And they're just following the sway of everything that's around them. And they really and truly just get up like robots, go to work, go to school, whatever, come back, eat, go to sleep, do the same thing every day. And they have all these different things that they want to do. And they don't have to be big goals. They could be small things that they never get to doing. And then the emotions start to harbor inside of them. And they start to, without them even knowing, they start to fester all of these negativities that were avoidable, maybe if they had a life coach. We know some people don't see life that way, and they don't see their weaknesses. So I'm going to ask you, what is your greatest weakness? Since you said that's an easy question.
My greatest weakness, and I've realized this more and more, I'm an extremely impatient person.
Okay.
I'm very, very impatient with myself and probably maybe with others as well. It's like, I do have a high anxiety, and so that has actually, it's been a bad thing in my personal life, but in my work life it's been good because I'm just like constantly go, kind of OCD sort of thing. And that lends to a lack of patience. And I think for myself as a person, it's to be able to say, everything's going to work out on its own time. I'm kind of one of these people that it has to happen right now. So yes, I would say a lack of patience.
Yeah, I can understand the lack of patience thing. It's something I've been working on myself. I have like a lack of patience with myself. When I want to do something and I don't feel like I'm doing it quickly enough or I'm not doing it efficiently enough, I start to
Right.
feel that pressure on the inside of myself. You got to keep doing it, got to keep going. So in terms of your interviews with other people, what would you say? Have you learned anything that has really and truly impacted you from other people you've interviewed?
I've learned things for sure. I'm trying to think what surfaces to the top, but I think more than I've learned things have been reinforced for me. So certain things like being on your craft every single day, whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to be a snow cone maker, make snow cones every single day of your life. Whatever it is, that's important. The need to brand yourself and the need for social media. My interview, I think, with DJ Puppy, which has been one of my most successful to date. This is a guy he is managed, but he manages his own social media and the reach that he's had through that, just because it's all hustle. It's all constantly doing it every day, even when you don't feel like doing it, finding a reason to do it. So behind the scenes, there is a thought process behind that. So the need to brand yourself for sure. And having mentors is important. I've realized that. I think that's something maybe for myself I've learned to maybe put more into my life is having mentors and people that can guide you along and realizing that everybody needs a mentor or a coach. And so I would say, yeah, those things definitely come to the top. But hustle, the willingness to cut your own path, and the discipline to be on your craft every single day. That's important.
So what's your hustle like? Like, what do you like? How is it that you really push yourself forward, and how do you keep yourself in a certain frame of mind to keep moving forward and not to just stop one day because it may not be going your way?
It's hard. It's because you do have like those weeks, even like a week at work, that's crazy. But I've made a commitment for my blog posts and for whoever I contribute to. For my blog posts, it's a once a week. So I make that commitment to get it out once a week at least, and to at least contribute to Caribbean 360. I work with them at least once a week. In an ideal world, I think I've slipped up on this, to be honest, in the past week or so, but I wake up early. I wake up between 5 and 6 a.m. and I would write. I would write, or I would work on social media messaging in case I need to do any of that. Then I usually get ready for work and I go to work. On average, I think if I leave the house at 8 for work, I don't come home I don't get 7 into my house until 9:30, 10 at night. That's because usually I'll go to the gym after work. That's an important core in my life is health and wellness. So most nights I'll work till about 7 at least, and then I'll go to the gym, come home, and I'm pretty beat up at that point. Okay. And usually another core area is my partner. So I like to make sure I spend time with him, that we have our time together. So the question is, all right, so where do I get all that done? A lot on weekends. I would say I pretty much work on Saturdays. Okay. If I'm not working with my current 9-to-5 job, which is not 9 to 5, but that said, if I'm not working with them, then I'm doing interviews, writing blog posts, reaching out to people, that sort of thing. And on Sunday I do a little bit of that as well. So I can't say that there's a day in the week that ever goes by where I literally do nothing. I don't know what it's like to watch Netflix endlessly and eat popcorn. I don't know what it's like because I'm constantly doing something. What I've learned now too on my commute, the lovely thing about living in New York as opposed to Barbados is I get to commute to work instead of having to drive myself. So I'm not down on the bus in the morning. I'm constantly writing. You'll see my myself, and I'm always writing the next topic, and then I'll hash it out a little bit later. So any moment that I have to make a post, to write something for our blog, then I'll do it. I'll do it then as well.
You mentioned at the very beginning, you mentioned that you always wanted to live in New York, but you also said you wanted to move to New York to grow. Did you feel like Barbados was constricting you a bit?
As the agents would say, if. Barbados has 380-something thousand people. New York has 8 million people, and you really don't even need to be in New York. In this new generation, you can live anywhere. You can be under a rock, and once you have an internet connection and a laptop, you can reach people. So I really wanted to be surrounded by the hustle in New York. My fiance and I joke about it all the time. We see people on the side of the road doing whatever they need to do to make money. And that is not ingrained in Barbadian culture. We're a very lazy culture. We're a very conservative culture. We draw a salary. We hold our hand out for pay. And I see these guys on the side of the road, and I don't know if they're illegal or legal immigrants, but they will paint themselves, they'll put snakes around themselves, they'll do whatever they need to do to make money. And being surrounded not just by that, but by the energy of this city, it's really pushed both of us to kind of focus on what it is that we want in life and to make that happen. Sometimes I think you need to clear away all the distractions in your life just to focus on where you want to be.
If Barbados were a person and he or she, came to you as a client, how would you coach Barbados? I'm being very serious because right now people say, Barbados is in a rut. Other people are saying, you know what, we were in a rut because of ourselves and we are not productive because we just don't know what work ethic really is. And our motto is pride in industry, but we're not really putting much pride in industry. So if Barbados came to you as a client, how would you approach the whole situation?
Well, first things first, I would have to do some financial coaching, which I've done before. So you cannot spend more than you earn. And we need to know what our income earners are. So basic budgeting at home, you can't spend more than you earn. The same budgeting applies for the Barbados economy. So I think that is important. We would have to do, if I'm thinking of them as a person and I love the concept of this, we would really have to do some internal thinking as to how we're treating ourselves versus others, i.e. how are we treating Barbadians versus the rest of the world. So, and I will say it very publicly, the entire Sandals deal that went down was a slap in the face to every Barbadian that pays taxes. Because all our taxes do is go up while we're allowing foreigners to come in. When you book a vacation in Sandals, if you yourself living in Barbados, you have to book it with a credit card, it goes to their Chicago office, that money doesn't filter down to our economy the way that it was proclaimed to do. So that is something I think we need to take a good look at, treating yourself, being Barbadians, better first, and then everything would grow. And if I can say, I'm not sure how I would put this into a client thing, but if there's anything, it's that the government needs to step back and let business run freely. Laissez-faire. So I guess maybe it's like that overprotected mother that gets involved in everything that you're doing. You need to step back and trust that if you leave the Barbados society, yes, you may have some ups and some downs, but the companies will figure it out, the corporations. So lower the taxes, because it's so expensive. Barbados, I think, is the second most expensive country to live in the Western Hemisphere. We had this example, I don't mean to rant, because this is a very sensitive topic for me.
It's my area of research. So
I'm living in the most expensive city in the U.S., and I still get by better compared to dollar for dollar what I was doing in Barbados. Barbados is extremely expensive to live in, and that kind of latches on to this segregation. You can only go to nice restaurants if you earn a certain amount of money or you come from a certain background. So you're creating a segregation in of itself. But to recap your question, some financial management courses for sure, because whoever is managing that knows that money doesn't understand the need for more money to come in than more money to go out. Also, step back a little bit. from the Barbados business sector. Let the business sector run, drop the taxes, allow things to come in, and allow Barbadians to have access to more things. And the education system. Because I think the education system in Barbados is probably the worst that it's ever been before. We're not keeping up with the trends. So the education system is now working with Generation Y, which everything is Snapchat and online. There's nothing to appeal. We're still teaching the same things we were teaching years and years ago. Meanwhile, the world has changed. So there's a lot, but definitely, yeah. Okay. I don't want to rant too much.
No, I don't mind ranting at all, and I'm finding this really interesting because many things that you hit on just now, or many of the things that are my areas of interest. I do political economy, and so I recently did a presentation at a Solesis conference, the Arthur Lewis Institute 2016 conference, and I was actually presenting on education and funding education, but going beyond funding education to actually increasing market growth, reducing the public debt at the same time, and creating other avenues for social mobility in Barbados. So, normally right now is this education is the way out of poverty, but really and truly, when you think about it, not everyone wants to go from secondary school to tertiary level education. Other people want another way out. And I gave my other way out, which is basically, in a nutshell, for the private sector, through the credit unions and banks, and credit unions do very well, to start to dish out some of the money, to start to create loans specifically geared towards those who have never gone to university and don't have the idea of going to a university or tertiary education at all. So that would be liberal arts, fine arts, mechanical arts, whatever. And saying the government will back the loans, but the private sector will compete for the loans and bring in business, so that we can have micro businesses starting to pop up. Many failures will happen, but money is still being spent. Things are still growing. Instead of this stagnant situation we have, and there's a big lag time between year 0 and year 22 or 23 when you finish university, a bachelor's degree, and still have to look for a job, but you're looking for a job in a private sector that's really small, you know? And it's really small because one of the things is that the government is always in the private sector saying this is what has to happen, or giving handouts, and we have to start to, become independent people. Which is kind of strange, since this is 50 years of independence, and we're speaking about becoming independent people. My penultimate question, because I started to talk ramble on a bit.
Yeah, it's a very hot topic, trust me.
Yeah, my penultimate question is, where do you see yourself in the next year? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. So in the next year, I'm rebuilding from a financial standpoint. Moving countries, take everything that you have right now in assets and money and liquid money and cut it in half. And then try to move to a new country where you're trying to furnish an apartment or live from day to day. So it's definitely from a financial aspect to get back up and running. I'm in a good place now, but finances is a pillar, like I mentioned from earlier on, of who I am and being able to support myself, because I think when you get desperate, you do things that you would not otherwise do. Certainly to grow from my coaching perspective, to grow my client base, to grow my email subscribers, and obviously I'm always trying to grow the quality and quantity of my posts, but more so too to contribute to other companies. I'm just confirmed as a contributing writer for Elite Daily as well. So there are a few other platforms that I want to get out onto. And I would like to start to do some more speaking in the next year. That is something that I did more in Barbados, just because of my connections. I was also a Toastmasters. So I'll just shout out the Let's Talk Toastmasters Club. They're awesome. That's where I got my start with speaking. And so I would like to do a lot more speaking as well. And also in the fall, I will be launching a video channel. So similar to what you're doing, I'm going to try to get behind the camera for a change. And instead, writing is my natural style, but I know everything is moving to YouTube and YouTube channels. So that's definitely going to be happening in the next year. In the next 5 years, I would like to probably have moved out of the city, moved more into suburbs and have access to the city. There's some really nice suburbs around here. So that's from a personal standpoint. I imagine by that point, I will have built the runway that I can make the leap into running my own human development company. And I like to use the word human development because that's what I really think it is. Okay. Coaching gets thrown around a lot, but my aim, my purpose in life is really to show people that where you are right now is not where you're going to have to be in a year's time, but it all comes back down to you. So my goal is really to launch a human development company, which encompasses client coaching, corporate coaching, writing as well, speaking engagements, and I will say it, I want to be a published author. I'm hoping that will happen in 5 years' time, but that will be the goal as well.
Okay, fantastic. Final question.
Sure.
What is your vision for the world? Like, what is your vision and what is your message to the world?
Yeah, vision and message, I guess, are different. And I do believe that if you're not working, if what you're doing is not contributing to even your small community around you, then it's a waste of time. My hope, I would say, for the world is really to stand in your truth, be who you want to be, because I think we have all these things bottled up inside of us about what we want to do and who we want to be, but we kind of have that negative self-talk about I'm not good enough or nobody's ever done this, so I can't do it. So it would be to stand in your truth and as a world make education a more multifaceted concept. So not traditional math, arithmetic, social studies, geography. I hated geography. I just failed geography. To be more about how to live in this day and age, how to network, how to get yourself out there, how to build your self-confidence. So education plays a key role in that. And I guess a message to anyone is that literally anything is possible, and it doesn't matter where you come from. There are endless examples that we can go on and on and on. Success stories where people have come from little, they've come from nothing, and they've just through determination, discipline, perseverance, and a vision, they've made it for themselves. And that's all you need. I didn't mention money, I didn't mention status, or any type of social background. That's all you need, and you can make it. But it really the ball's in your court. There's nobody else that you can blame.